All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. At the de facto halfway point of this NFL season, we're starting to get an idea as to which teams are going to be playoff contenders. And we also have an idea as far as which teams are bringing up the rear and which teams are going to bring up the rear that is going to put them in the position to be picking early on in next spring's NFL draft. Now, it's the battle for that first pick in April's NFL draft. And some have dubbed it, and I'm going to get on that bandwagon too. We can just call it the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. As you know, all eyes are on the young phenom at quarterback coming out of the University of Southern California. As he's more than likely going to be the first overall pick in next spring's NFL draft. And you look at the way that things are right now and the way that the top 10 for next spring's NFL draft is looking as of right now. If the season ended today, Arizona would be picking number one. Chicago would be picking number two, courtesy of their trade last year that allowed the Carolina Panthers to move up to the first overall slot. The Bears would be picking third with their own pick. You have the New York Giants at fourth, the New England Patriots at five, the Los Angeles Rams at six, the Green Bay Packers at seven, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at eight, the Denver Broncos at number nine, and then you have the Tennessee Titans at number 10. For the Arizona Cardinals, they have a very interesting scenario right here. Obviously, out of all of the teams right now, they have the worst record, but there's a possibility that we're going to see their Pro Bowl quarterback, Kyler Murray, return to them very soon. And if Kyler Murray does return, how's he going to look after suffering that a torn ACL last year? And how's his team going to look around him? So there's a possibility for the Cardinals to win some games there, or could they just scale it back and not play Murray at all? We got to wait and see. You look at the Chicago Bears, and they're very interesting because the Bears have two chances to get this pick, their own as well as that of the Carolina Panthers. And of course, things have not been good for the Bears this season, especially once Justin Fields went down with the injury, but they weren't that good with Justin Fields to begin with. And then, of course, they have the Carolina Panthers first round pick, which also adds some intrigue to that. Now, the New York Giants, obviously, this has been a disappointing year for them, and it just took a different twist. No pun really needed for it. But when Daniel Jones suffered the torn ACL this past Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders, the Giants are 2-7. Could they? They're more than likely going to be finishing in the top five with the way things are going right now. And you just have to wonder if the Giants are going to be in that mix to get a quarterback at the spring's draft. And then you have the New England Patriots. The Patriots are 2-7 as well, like the Giants. And if the Patriots finish in the top five, would they be ready to move on uh, from Mac Jones, the young quarterback out of Alabama? We got to wait and see. Chelsea Grin, how are you doing today? You're saying, I think the Cardinals are a lost cause regarding their season. Their coaching staff have to accept that and let Kyler ready up for next season. Yeah, that's a very interesting scenario. And I've actually been thinking about this for, the last several weeks, because if you're the Cardinals, I mean, you look at it right now, you've got your pick, which is first overall. You also have the Houston Texans first round pick, courtesy of the trade last year that allowed the Texans to move up to the third slot to take Will Anderson out of Alabama. But now you've got two picks, and you got to say, well, is Kyler Murray our guy going forward? And if not, do we trade him to get more picks? Or do you use those two first rounders to build around him? And I mean, it's one of those where if you're the Cardinals, obviously, a lot of people are talking about Caleb Williams, a quarterback, but you can make a very compelling argument that Marvin Harrison Jr., the phenomenal wide receiver out of Ohio State, might be the best player available heading into next spring's NFL draft. So do you decide to like team up Kyler Murray with Marvin Harrison Jr. That could also be a possibility for the Birds right there. And I was gonna touch on that as far as the Kyler Murray factor for the Cardinals. For me, I look at it like this. I mentioned all 10 teams that are currently in the top 10, but I think those bottom six, I think that they're going to win some games. So I think they're going to separate themselves from this pack, if you will, still possibly be in the top 10, but not really push for a top five pick. And that's with the Rams, the Packers, the Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to get back on track. They've been playing hard and they've been like hard luck losers in recent games. The Broncos have been showing some life under first year head coach Sean Payton, obviously not his first year, in the NFL as a head coach, his first year in Denver. And I think the Tennessee Titans as well. But you look at that top five. And of course, like I said, the Bears have double indemnity, if you will, as far as going for this. But it all comes down to different scenarios for all of these teams. And I look at the Bears because the Bears are in a very interesting spot here. They host the Carolina Panthers this Thursday night. And if you're the Bears, this is a win-win scenario for you because obviously you want to win the game, but if you win, you further distance yourself between you and the Carolina Panthers as far as getting that first overall pick. And even if the Panthers win, you're still right in that mix to get that first pick because that means you would have lost that contest. Then for the Bears, a big time showdown, if you want to call it that, in week 16. The Bears host the Arizona Cardinals on Christmas Eve. And that contest could once again go a very long way in determining who gets that first overall pick. You look at the Giants. The Giants right now, they're going to be spiraling. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, they got Tommy DeVito as their starting quarterback. And I mean, there's not a lot of scenarios where if you're a team, you're really game planning when you got your third string quarterback going in there getting meaningful snaps. I mean, again, let's not forget Tyrod Taylor is out with a rib injury as well. So I'm looking at the Giants, and then I'm looking at the Giants schedule. Not a lot of soft spots, in the second half of the season for the Giants. They're at Dallas this coming Sunday. And like I said before, after Dallas lost that heartbreaker to Philadelphia, they're going to be licking their chops to try to get back on track. And they're already heavily favored. I think Dallas opened as maybe a 16 or a 16.5 point favorite over the Giants in that contest. They got Washington on the road the week after that. And then week number 12, a very interesting one. The Giants host the New England Patriots. Both of these teams are 2-7, and it could be the race to the bottom, if you will, to try to get yourself, in a better position to have a better pick. After the Giants bye week in week number 13, they host Green Bay, then they're at New Orleans, at Philadelphia. And then they finish up with their last two at home, first with the Rams and then with the Philadelphia Eagles. Might be some chances to win in there. Maybe the Eagles clinch home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Maybe they start resting their guys. I don't know. But there's not a lot of soft spots for the Giants to say, you know what, New York can go out there and win some games. And the same thing could be said for the Patriots. They're in Frankfurt this Sunday morning to take on the Colts, who have been playing pretty solid under with a Gardner Minshew at quarterback after their bye week. They're on the road against the Giants. They host the Chargers. They're at the Steelers. They host Kansas City in week 15. Then the last three at Denver, at Buffalo, and then you finish up at home with the Jets. Thanks for the love on the Rays hat. You saying you live near Tampa and you're bummed out about their postseason failure still. Listen, I real quick, just changing gears, I did acknowledge that, and it's great to be a Rays fan in the regular season, but it's tough to be a Rays fan in the postseason. What I'm saying? It's just one of those things with a small market club like the Rays. But nonetheless, getting back to the tankathon, if you want to call it that, you look at the Carolina Panthers coming down the stretch. Like I said, the big one, if you want to call it that, this Thursday night against the Chicago Bears. They've still got a contest with the Dallas Cowboys. They've got two with the Bucks and another game with the Saints. But I'll say this about the Panthers. I think, I know that they lost pretty bad this past Sunday at home to the Colts. I think this team has the potential to win a couple of games over the second half of the season. Not saying it's going to happen, but I still think that they do have the potential. There's a young squad there. Bryce Young has shown flashes He's not there quite yet. Still needs a better offensive line around him. But the Carolina Panthers, they're still going to have an uphill battle, if you will, to try to go out there and win some games. But honestly, I think the first overall pick is going to come down to the Cardinals. It's going to come down to the Bears, and I think it's going to come down to the Giants. The Cardinals, it all depends how much that they're going to play Kyler Murray. Because if the Cardinals decide to scale this back and really not play Kyler Murray, or they're just looking to play Kyler Murray to possibly showcase him for another team to trade him, then the Cardinals are going to keep losing. I mean, if you look at the Cardinals so far, with the exception of their blowout loss this past Sunday at Cleveland, for the most part, they've been in every one of their games. It's just been the fact that they haven't been able to seal the deal, if you will, in that fourth quarter and probably most of the second half period. But they're a very intriguing situation. The Bears, like I said, the Bears have double indemnity in this. And I mean, the Bears have been very competitive, but they just don't have the tools to get those wins. And they've got a tough schedule, ahead of them, which still includes, two games with Detroit, finishing up on the road at Lambeau Field, and then later next month they're also on the road to take on the Cleveland Browns. So the Bears have some tough sledding ahead of them. Obviously, they're going to be riding the coattails, if you will, of the Carolina Panthers to possibly get a pick, and then you got the New York Giants as well. So I think it's really going to come down between the Bears, um, the Cardinals, and the Giants for that first pick. And it's also going to be interesting to see, because if you're a team like the Cardinals and you decide, hey, we are not uh, going to go in a different direction at quarterback, and we're going to be committed to Kyler Murray, and we're not going to look to trade him, then you have a very interesting situation if you're the Cardinals, because you then have the opportunity to stockpile even more draft picks. Why? Because there's going to be teams that are going to be more than willing to move up and get a quarterback. Why? Because you're probably going to see four quarterbacks go in the top 10 this year or next year, next spring. Because aside from Caleb Williams, you also got Bo Nix, the kid out of Oregon, Drake May out of North Carolina, and then Michael Penix Jr. out of the University of Washington. And all of those guys might not have top 10 grade, but it only takes one team to get desperate in order for them to try to move up. And if that scenario does happen, and if you're the Cardinals, just for the sake of argument, you have the opportunity to really come out of this smelling like a rose, because now you have an opportunity to get some more picks for for the 2024 draft, as well as the 2025 draft, as you look to rebuild your team. And then also, how willing a team's going to be there to move up to try to get a Caleb Williams as well. It's going to be very interesting. So I think there's a lot of different scenarios on the table right here. But I guarantee you, if you are a team and you finish in the top 5 or top 10, and you're not looking to draft a quarterback, and you feel like you can maybe go back a little bit and still get the guy that you're looking for, you have an opportunity to really load up on some draft picks here. So obviously, here in November, the focus is on the main focus, rightfully so, is on which teams are making those postseason pushes and which teams have the best chance to get to the Super Bowl. But also on the flip side of the coin, you got to start looking to see the other end of the spectrum in the NFL. What teams aren't in it? What teams are already possibly looking ahead towards 2024? And in this case, with the Giants, like I said, they have a chance to get that first overall pick, but it's not a guarantee. It's far from a guarantee for them to get it. And if they don't get that number one pick, because I really do think that the Giants are going to draft a quarterback. I talked about this the other night, because, like I said, they have an out in Daniel Jones's contract after next season. Then on top of that, you know, Joe Shane and Brian Dayball, they inherited Daniel Jones. They didn't draft him. Typically, when you get a new front office and head coaching regime, they want to have their guy at quarterback. And this could be the opportunity for them to do such a thing. But like I said, a lot of football still left to be played. A lot of different scenarios have to play out. But one thing's for sure, this is going to be a quarterback heavy class in 2024. There's going to be a lot of people clamoring to get quarterbacks early on. And the race is on to get that number one pick. And the race is also on to position yourself in the best possible spot to get yourselves one of these quarterbacks next spring in the draft. It's the unfortunate side of football, but at the end of the day, that's just the way it is. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'd be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.